Transit Committee, the meeting is now called to order at 1 p.m. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of members. Justice, can you please take roll?
Thank you, Chair. I'll begin with Aubrey Perry.
Present.
Thank you. Matt Dudley. Andrew Blanchard.
Present.
Thank you. Jason Crampton.
Here.
Thank you. Jose Macias.
Present.
Thank you. Jeff Graves.
Here.
Thank you. Nathan Williams.
Here.
Thank you. Nathan White.
Present.
Thank you. Christine McMurdy. Don Coomer. Tony Flood.
Present.
Thank you. Reed Kempton.
Here.
Thank you. Jody Sorrell.
Present.
Thank you. Tremaine Coley.
Present.
Thank you. Nina Ardondo.
Present.
Thank you. Ryan Donald.
Present.
Thank you. Salvatore LaPuma. Kristen Taylor. Sam Stevenson. Gabe Elias.
Here.
Thank you. Michael Eschliman.
Present.
Thank you. Grant Anderson.
Here.
Thank you, Grant. Vice Chair Sapien.
Here.
And Chair Corapella.
Here.
Now, are there any members or proxies that I missed during the roll call? Okay. Chair, we have quorum. You may continue.
Thank you, Justice. Our next item is call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. Informational items are items on the agenda for discussion but not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience unless the chair requests an exception to this limit. I have not received any, we have not received any any request to speak for the call to the audience. MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration and will be included in the formal meeting minutes. Justice, have we received any written comments?
Thank you, Chair. We received one online written comment for the call to the audience, and I did share those with the members prior to today's meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Justice. Now, let's move to the MAG staff report. This item is on the agenda for information and will be presented by Wendy Miller, MAG Transportation Improvement Program Manager. Wendy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Corapella and members of the Transit Committee. I just wanted to remind the members that the Momentum 2050 Regional Transportation Plan update and the fiscal year 26 through 30 TIP are available for review and public comment through October 10th. And we appreciate your providing your review and sharing with your stakeholders if you've not already done so. Also, starting this week, MAG staff are holding agency coordination meetings with all the member agencies to review TIP projects for general roadway and transit or any topics that you would like to discuss with MAG. Most agencies have already set up meetings and we look forward to meeting with you all. Thank you, Chair. That completes my report.
Thank you, Wendy. Does anybody have any questions on this item? Okay. Now let's move on to the next item of the meeting, which is approval of August 4th meeting minutes. Does any members of the committee have questions regarding the minutes of our last meeting? None? No hands? Okay, thank you. Okay, prior to the approval of the meeting minutes, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. We have not received any comments from the public on this item. Do we have any online written comments on this?
Chair, we do not have any online written comments for the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the August meeting minutes?
Madam Chair, this is Jesus. I move approval of the August 4th, 2025 meeting minutes of the Transit Committee.
Thank you, Vice Chair Jesus. A
This
second?
is Jody from Mesa. I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Vice Chair Jesus Sapien and a second from Jody Sorrell from City of Mesa. For our members online, when we conduct votes, we request that you turn on your cameras and unmute your microphones. For members unable or unwilling to turn your cameras, staff will perform a roll call for those individuals. Please keep this in mind for all voting during the meeting. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Our members online, please leave your cameras on. And Justice, could you please take a roll call of the members?
Thank you, Chair. Gabe Elias, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And I believe it's Matt Dudley. Okay. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you, Justice. Now,
This is Kristen from Surprise. I came on late. I just want to make sure you guys knew I was here.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 5, Human Service Transportation Best Practices Report. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Patrick Stone, Deputy Director of Programming. Patrick, please proceed with the presentation.
Thank you, Chair Corpella and members of the Transit Committee. Pleasure to be here this afternoon to present this item on the Human Services Transportation Best Practices Report. So to kick it off, kind of an overview, when we think about this funding, we really are talking about FTA or Federal Transit Administration Section 5310 funding for the enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities. Eligible applicants include both private nonprofits, public entities, and tribal governments, and those clients that they serve are older adults, 65 and greater, and individuals with disabilities. When we talk about transit funding in the region, I think a key slide and a core concept is the concept of urban areas. As you see on the screen in the tealish green and purple, the MAG region has 2 large urban areas, both the Phoenix Mesa Scottsdale in the teal and Phoenix West Goodyear Avondale in the purple. Of note, the City of Phoenix is the designated recipient for those transit funds in those urban areas. In addition, MAG, as the MPO, has the responsibility to do the call for projects associated with the Section 5310 program, as well as handling coordination activities and the subsequent programming. Once we get a little smaller in the region, we have one small urban area, the City of Maricopa. As part of the 2020 census, they were designated a small urban area, which means they are between 50 and 200,000 in population. With federal guidance, ADOT is responsible for administering the 5310 program for the City of Maricopa. In addition, if you think about the MAG region, everything not colored is what we would consider the rural parts of the region. And again, the Section 5310 program is administered through our partners at ADOT. So a little bit of background, kind of going back, I love history. So the original program going way back to the 70s, up to 2013, the full program was administered by the state through the Department of Transportation. Starting in 2013, the governor designated the City of Phoenix at a request from the region and the city to administer the Section 5310. I think this was a key milestone in the program in that it really kind of had that local control aspect incorporated into the process. Another thing in which, not surprising, the program's grown. You go back, used to be less than $1 million, now we're over $5 million in funding for the urban areas. And then here's the breakdown of that 5 million. You can see the lion's share is in the Phoenix Mesa Scottsdale urban area, but still a significant amount of funding for our West Valley partners. So why did we do a best practices? A couple of salient points. First was there was a reorganization at MAG in 2024. The Human Services Transportation Group moved out of the Human Services Division into the Transportation Division for better alignment with transportation core functions and focuses. I think it was also paramount, given the amount of funding available to the region. It's always good to ensure we are using the funds as well as we can. And also ensuring that regional needs are met. You know, we have to just can't assume that a program is static. So we like to go out and check in with folks and see if we're still meeting the needs of the region. The task order associated with this best practices report kicked off last December. So really, the best practices review had a couple of three tenets. The first was a review of the program itself, both the Section 5310 program at the federal level, but also the program's administration with MAG and the City of Phoenix. Also did a literature review looking out there, what are the documents and best practices nationwide. And with that, and I think this was a core component you'll see on the next slide, we found member agencies similar to MAG in demographics, in geography and topography, and we wanted to talk to those individuals and see how they were administering their Section 5310 programs. All of those are accumulated in a best practices report, the draft of which is included in the agenda for today's meeting. So the peer agency interviews, I think this is kind of a very interesting slide in that you can really see the diversity of where we looked. First was the Atlanta Regional Council. In Atlanta, Dr. Cog, which is the Denver Region Council of Governments. We also talked to Houston Galveston, as well as the Puget Sound up in the Seattle area. And then finally, Wasatch Front, which covers Greater Salt Lake City. In addition, we talked to ourselves. So we did talk to MAG staff and also got feedback on how the program was being administered. So next steps, as noted in today's agenda packet, is a draft of the best practices report. Certainly encourage members of the Transit Committee to take a look at that report. If you have comments or thoughts, certainly share them with myself or Wendy Miller. We'd be happy to hear that. The intent is after today's meeting, this item will again be presented at Transportation Review Committee on October 23rd, again with the ask of committee members reviewing the report, providing any feedback. And then the goal is to take this report through the policy committees as an informational item in November and Regional Council on December 3rd. So some takeaways that we've already gleaned from the report, and I think we heard this nationwide, the balancing act of capital and operating, there are federal requirements of how much you must, at least at a minimum, spend in the capital space of 55%. But we ran the gamut of folks adhering strictly to the federal definition to those that almost went entirely into the capital space, providing little for operating. And I think this was one Wendy and myself were quite curious about, just the scoring and selection process. How do they manage their application processes? What weighting do they give to competencies, agency support, years in business? So I think we got good feedback on how different groups score projects. Also the use of committees. How do you take these programs through your committee process to ultimately become projects that get and serve the greater community? Again, balancing the regional needs, as I noted earlier. And then this is the big one. Preview of coming attractions for the committee. So the outcome of this report will become a key input into the update of the coordinated transportation plan. It's been a few years since MAG has actually done a wholesale review and rewrite of that document. The intent is to get a consultant on board early in calendar year 26 to update the coordinated transportation plan, expecting probably at least a year to get that completed, but a great opportunity for members of this committee and others to participate in that plan. And with that, Chair Corpella, members of the Transit Committee, that concludes my presentation. Certainly available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this item?
Chair, Matt online, just for your information, has his hand up.
Hey, everyone. Hey, this is Matt Dudley, City of Avondale. Thank you very much for doing this. And again, I can see both Wendy and Stephanie in there from the City of Phoenix. I thought this was actually really well done. I think one of those things that we're kind of looking at, I've been on this committee almost close to a quarter of a century. So I'm the outgoing chair for the, oh my gosh, third or fourth time already. So I really do appreciate the practice. I think one of the things that definitely kind of stood out in this document is just how many nonprofits we have in the region compared to a lot of the other regions around the country. And I think MAG, I've heard time and time again, has been a best practice when it comes to the 5310 program. So I really do appreciate. I definitely went through it this morning, probably not as much as I should, but I think there was some recommendations in there that I think would work really well for us. Some other ones that I think wouldn't work as well. But I definitely believe that you guys did a great job putting this together. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair Corpel and members of the Transit Committee. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the feedback. For those that may be wondering, Matt Dudley is the chair of the EPDT Committee, or the Elderly and Persons with Disabilities Transportation Committee. So he serves as chair. He'll be completing his term this December. Matt, I would say I appreciate the review. If you do have additional feedback, certainly provide that in the next coming days.
Will do.
Thank you, Matt.
Mike Eshelman, Valley Metro. So as we're going through the COA process and we're doing a lot of engagement, it's my expectation and past experience that not all of that, the feedback that we receive during the COA is going to be directly related to our own fixed service. There's usually a lot of other things that come up. Is the coordinated transportation plan, I guess for my education, the appropriate venue where we would make sure that MAG has access to any comments that we receive that would be applicable for this program?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Corpel and members of the Transit Committee. Yeah, Mr. Eshelman, a good point. I would tend to think as we develop and start the work of the CTP, stakeholder engagement is a big component, which also includes member agencies, including Valley Metro. And that probably would be the opportunity of like, hey, as we did, and not just the COA, as other member agencies may have done studies, preview the next agenda item. Ms. Miller's doing for the city of Maricopa on their transit site. But we've had other opportunities in engagement where you're right, maybe tangentially someone's like, well, it's not applicable to this, but I think about that. We certainly want to capture those comments because the goal, especially of the CTP, it's so much going to be stakeholder driven. So we really want to hear from all facets of the transportation space for that. But thank you.
You want to go?
Thank you. This is Jesus from Phoenix. As was established at a recent meeting, I think we've gotten rid of COA and we're calling it officially the Eshelman Project. So just so everyone knows. Seriously though, I just want to impress upon folks how big this has gotten. When Wendy was with us and Stephanie is still with us. I'm wondering, I guess my little selfish ask would be, as this moves forward, can we illustrate on one of these slides, in 2013 when ADOT took it, when ADOT was managing it, it was this many subrecipients, this many vehicles, and then what it is today. Because I will tell you it's a lot of work. It has become a lot of work. It was a decent amount of work when we took it on in 13, but it has certainly grown. And Patrick pointed out from 1 million to 5 million and change. We have 60 subrecipients now under the 5310 program. And I will tell you, it is everything from teaching them about vehicle maintenance, vehicle specifications, what to order, how many, and we help them with that. We look over their shoulder as part of our compliance function as a designated recipient. And I will tell you, there's some tough conversations that have had to be had because we've had to either pause funding or take vehicles back or not let them order again because they're not doing what they're supposed to. And those are really tough conversations because they're supposed to be doing, a really good service from the community. And then we found a few, it's not a lot. It is the exception rather than the rule. But there are a couple where we've told them, we're not going to let you order vehicles anymore because you're not doing what you're supposed to from a vehicle maintenance perspective or things like that. Nothing horrendous by any means, that would make the front page, but certainly things that don't meet up to our standards. And we literally have vehicle equipment staff that goes out to some of these subrecipients and helps them with specing the vehicle, receiving it, putting it into service, telling them how to maintain it. And then we subsequently go out and look through the maintenance records. And this is a part of a triennial review too. The FTA can look at any one of these, skim the top or get into them really deep. So it's kind of become another task in that realm. But I would just like, the region to be somewhat educated on how much it's grown and how much work it has become, because it is a lot of work. Not complaining, but the growth of it certainly has had an impact on our team relative to all those things I mentioned. The last thing I'll mention is the subrecipients are very appreciative of the help that they get. When we started the conversation with ADOT years ago, I would say they did the bare minimum, and some of their recipients back then were happy to get the money, but ADOT didn't provide a lot of guidance thereafter. And we've done our best to post information on websites. We share vehicle maintenance plans with them, things like that. So the kind of, rewarding thing is they are serving a very specific part of the community. And for the vast majority of them, they're very appreciative of the funding rolling towards their way, but also, the help to meet those federal requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Corpella, members of the Transit Committee, Vice Chair Sapien. Great points. I think we flagged that. I see an opportunity, perhaps in the background history slide, to maybe show kind of a context of, in 2013, we had this many applicants, this kind of funding versus what was done in the previous call for projects. I think that does a good job of explaining, as the funding has grown, so has the needs. And even still, we find that we don't have enough funding for all the needs. So yes, appreciate those comments. Thank you, sir.
Chair, Christine McMurdy online has her hand raised.
Okay. Christine?
Thank you, Chair. Patrick, when you were opening up this presentation, you said $400,000 for the Phoenix West Goodyear Avondale UZA was a significant amount. Can you help me understand that? Because I feel it's highly inadequate.
Thank you, Chair Corpella, members of the Transit Committee. Christine, yeah, and I think it was talking about the growth as we saw it. There was growth and so for some context for folks in the room, folks online, prior to the 2020 census, we had an Avondale Goodyear urbanized area, which was a small urban area. We did actually see a bit of growth in that area, hence it moved from a small to a large urban area. And so I was trying to kind of highlight that. Christine, you're right. In the context of all things, it's not enough funding. And even in the context, if you look at Phoenix West to Phoenix Mesa, there's a disparity, but the formulas work the way the formulas work. It's based on FTA formulas that say this is how we do it, but it's better than what we had previously. And so I tried to highlight there is funding available for those agencies serving the West Valley. But your point's well taken.
I appreciate the comment. And we're obviously grateful for what we do get, but 400,000, that is not sufficient compared to 5 million, which in most cases, well, in the last few years has been more than what that region could spend, and can't allow our smaller UZA to participate because of FTA rules. That is an issue. And we're aware, I'm afraid Vice Chair Sapien is very aware, because we had a council member go rogue and decide to contact FTA on her own. We have since remedied that situation, but that is the kind of thing that can be difficult for us to handle when we have so many nonprofits on the West Side that we would really like to do the business for us versus us having to provide the service. So that's probably just a random comment. I will also go through the report. I haven't had a chance to review it and provide some comments for our team when they run through the process. But I think that it is great that MAG decided to take a very deep dive into a very important program. And I appreciate staff's time on this. So I did want to share that as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Corpella, members of the Transit Committee. Christine, actually, you bring up some good points and a couple of things to flag that we're tracking. As everyone hopefully knows, or maybe doesn't know, the current federal surface transportation bill expires September 30th of next year in 2026. So one of the things we are always cognizant of is looking at conversations in DC about reauthorization, where they see the funding in the transit space, where they see funding for the formulas, calculations. So I think it's still critical. And the other one, and I think you're really assisting us here, that was part of the intent of going out with the update to the CTP, is to also look at understanding the funding limitations. Where can we, are there opportunities out there to get creative and provide just that much more value to our nonprofits who are serving the region? But appreciate the comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Patrick, for this. This is a great presentation, doing a peer review, and Scottsdale used to apply for some of these grants way back, and Matt, being a lead on this over the years, he contributed a lot to the region. So thank you, Matt, for all your work with the 5310 program. I have one question, Patrick, on the coordinated transportation plan. Are you going to look at all modes like bikes, is it?
Chair Corbelli, members of the Transportation Review Committee. No, boy, we have a lot of studies going on, I think. This one's very focused in that human services transportation space. That being said, obviously, hopefully, as the chair is aware, we do have the update to the active transportation plan going up. So very much in that multimodal, non-motorized space. We have an update to our intelligent transportation services, our TISMO plan. So yeah, this one's a little more focused in that kind of that transit space, and especially serving those communities of the elderly and those with disabilities. But yeah, opportunities for the city, as you noted, the city previously had applied. We'll be looking for prior applicants to also provide feedback to the process and where they may see some opportunities. But appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item?
Chair, I don't see any raised hands online.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is City of Maricopa Transit Feasibility Study Update. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Wendy Miller. Wendy, please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, Chair Corpel and members of the Transit Committee. I'm pleased to be presenting to you today an overview of the City of Maricopa Transit Feasibility Study. To give a little background, and I think Patrick covered this a lot in his presentation, so they kind of go together, showing the Maricopa urban area. And then we'll cover the project purpose and goals, an overview of the scope of work of the study, and the project schedule. But the background that I was intending to highlight is the progression of the city of Maricopa from a rural area and into the 2020 census became a small urban area, similar to what Avondale and Goodyear used to be prior to the same census update.
Wendy, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't know this, I should, but is the green outline the boundaries of the city Maricopa, or does it represent something different?
It is really the city of Maricopa.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect, thank you.
So it is an urban area as well. So Chair,
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Sapien, thank you for the question. The project purpose is to help create a connected city of Maricopa by providing residents and visitors with greater mobility and access to opportunity. Currently, the city of Maricopa has a fixed route, more circulator service, and it operates Monday through Friday from 8 to 4 p.m. And then they also have a demand response service that operates Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, also within the city limits of Maricopa. The project goals, we will be benchmarking against peer agencies and will highlight where Maricopa's service is excelling and maybe where there might be areas for improvement. The study will also leverage input from city staff and stakeholders and the public to define where the system can improve, evolve, or expand to best respond to the community's needs. The study will aid in determining what opportunities are available and what the return on those investments could be. Through public and stakeholder engagement, the objective is to gain meaningful input and highlight the benefits of the system and provide clear messaging on the city's transit service. The scope of work includes project management, public and stakeholder engagement, conducting an existing conditions and best practices review, a complete market analysis, finally with route and service recommendations, and doing the final report. We kicked off the project management phase and the study itself on August 19th. We created a project plan for the study and assembled the project team. We're conducting public and stakeholder engagement. We've established a technical advisory committee, a group of subject matter experts who meet throughout the study process to review and provide feedback on key phases of the study and help determine preferred alternatives for the recommendations. We're putting together a project website, which will be established for residents and stakeholders to learn about the study, review outreach materials and engagement opportunities, and to view the study documents. We will also be conducting 6 stakeholder interviews with Maricopa staff, local businesses, and other key groups identified by the City of Maricopa. The project team will engage the community in both virtual and in-person events with outreach materials, public engagements, and surveys to gain valuable feedback on the current system, their transit needs, and the proposed alternatives. We'll be doing a previous plan review. The last transit study City of Maricopa did was back in 2018, so that's where it kind of leaves off, and we'll be starting this review. The team will develop an updated socioeconomic profile for the urban area. They'll be evaluating system metrics, fare structure, infrastructure inventory, and conducting a best practices assessment to identify potential strategies to improve the system. We'll be doing the market analysis, identifying populations that are most likely to use transit based on demographic and socioeconomic data. Origin and destination data will provide context on where additional transit connections could be beneficial. And the team will analyze where the transit gaps are in the urban area, including locations where existing transit may be underperforming, where there isn't transit, but it's needed, and then also areas where there is current transit, but maybe it's not sufficient enough for what their needs are. We'll be doing route and service recommendations, developing a list of multiple alternatives, and based on inputs, we'll identify those preferred alternatives, conducting a financial analysis, which includes funding projections, revenue, and expenditure forecasts, developing an operations and a capital plan for those identified recommendations, and providing short, mid, and long-term implementation recommendations. And this will help the city to plan wisely with the resources available as the city grows and the needs change. And then again, doing the final draft and final report. And then our last slide is covering the schedule. This is a 15-month study. So we've, again, kicked it off in August. We'll be doing community and stakeholder engagement beginning this month. We'll be issuing a survey and doing some in-person engagements. We're starting the existing condition and market analysis review, and those items will feed into the route and service recommendations, which will be completed in July of next year. And then the final report will come shortly after that, with the final report wrapping up in the study in the end of September of next year. So thank you, Chair Corpella, members of the Transit Committee. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Wendy. Anybody, any members have any questions or comments?
Chair Corpella, Grant Anderson has his hand raised online.
Grant, please go ahead and speak up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just wondering if the MAG was able to partner with the Native Americans and if they are going to find a way to include the casino in the route study.
Chair Corapella, members of the Transit Committee, Mr. Anderson, yes, we have established in our Technical Advisory Committee, we've reached out to the Native Nations to participate in the study. So yes, we will be including that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Vice Chair Jesus.
Wendy, one of my questions is, are they looking, or are you guys looking at only fixed route service, something like a circulator, whatever it ends up being, only within that area, or perhaps commuter service too? Because I remember they used to do the Maricopa Express. They had a couple trips from there to downtown daily.
Chair Corapella, Vice Chair Sapien, yes, we intend to include one of the members of our Technical Advisory Committee is Aaron Xavier from Valley Metro, and they do plan on looking at potential commuter services opportunities between Maricopa and the East Valley or Phoenix.
Because you guys just wrapping up that commuter service study, right? So that they can kind of dovetail with each other.
Correct.
My other question is, remind me, are they getting 479 funding, this area moving forward?
Chair Corapella, Vice Chair Sapien, no, they are in Pinal County.
That's what I thought.
It's part of the MAG region, which extends the portion that extends beyond Maricopa County. So
Okay.
they do not receive
Remember what the
479.
dividing line was. Thank you.
And their annual 5307 funding that they're getting is around $1.7 million, 1.8 per year at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Eshelman.
Because that's where the Amtrak station is, right? So is there like Amtrak throughway service connecting Phoenix to Maricopa?
Chair Corapella, members of the Transit Committee, Mr. Eschman, yes, there is an Amtrak station there, and that is currently one of the only services that, besides Valley Metro's van pool opportunities, that's really the only solution, or hiring a private charter or Uber and Lyft type services, et cetera.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments?
Chair, there's no hands raised online.
Let's move on to the next item, which is request for future agenda items. Are there any requests from the membership for an item on a future agenda?
Chair, no hands raised online.
Okay. That said, the last item on the agenda, are any comments from the committee? So are there any comments or announcements from the membership? Do you see any hands raised?
Chair, I do not.
Okay. Now, the last item is adjournment of the meeting. The next meeting of the Transit Committee will be on Monday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. With no further business, today's meeting is adjourned at 1:38 p.m.